Welcome to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. The show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and today we are talking about turning clutter into cash, attic junk into treasures, and maybe, just maybe, your next garage sale into a gold mine. Think about it. How many of us have boxes of old collectibles, furniture, gathering dust, or a closet filled with clothes we haven't worn in a decade? Downsizing and decluttering, part of our lives here at this particular age in life. But all of that can feel overwhelming at times. But what if I told you that hidden in those stacks of stuff could be real money, thousands of dollars even, just waiting to be uncovered? Well, today's guest knows exactly how to find it. Aaron LaPedis, better known as the Garage Sale Millionaire, made his first $1 million by the age of 21. He made his first deal at age 9, flipping baseball cards and coins. He's a self-made millionaire, all of which came from garage sales, storage auctions, and resale finds. He's going to tell us all about that and how he has spent the last 40 years uncovering hidden gems, dodging scams, and teaching everyday people like us how to cash in on forgotten treasures. It's just going to be an amazing show. You're going to just love this. Aaron's going to reveal, additionally, the biggest mistakes people make when selling their stuff, the top 5 things in your home right now that could be worth serious money, and how to master the art of negotiation, whether in person or online. We'll even get into the wild world of storage unit auctions. I really didn't know much about this. In my research, and you'll hear me mention this to Aaron, I know that there are TV shows about this subject, but I just had no idea. Aaron's going to tell us whether or not the real live versions live up to the TV hype. Again, you're just going to love this. So if you've ever thought about downsizing, decluttering, or making extra income in retirement, this episode is for you. So grab a pen, take some notes, get ready to see your garage, attic, and even your junk drawer in a whole new light. So join me in welcoming to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast, the Garage Sale Millionaire himself, Aaron LaPedis. Aaron LaPedis, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on, Paul.
I'm looking forward to this. Of course, we're going to talk about your book, Garage Sale Millionaire. This is a fantastic book. I think it's just going to be so appropriate and relevant for our audience. I really am excited to just jump right in. So I wonder if we could just start kind of, where a lot of my audience might start, and that is with the subject of kind of decluttering, kind of downsizing as we get a little bit older. What's the first step that somebody should take in that process, especially if they're kind of thinking about, kind of some items potentially that they can sell for cash?
Well, a lot of people think that they need everything in their house. And what they'll find out when they walk around is that they have 5 staplers and hammers, chairs that they don't use that are in the closet waiting for an extra guest once a year to use it. They find clothes that they go through and they are never going to fit in them anymore, or they're too big if you're that lucky. But it's very easy if you have that mindset that you're tired of bumping over things that you don't use, or closets that you can't fit anything else in, especially stuff that you need. So I think if you go into that with that kind of mindset to clean up, donate items, see if your local church may need some stuff, and know by you repurposing an item, somebody else may enjoy it more than you do, and it creates space for, easy living conditions, or maybe upgrading to something better.
I like that. This whole subject of decluttering and kind of doing away with things that we don't need. I mean, there's some health benefits to it too. As we get a little older, we we're subject to falls and tripping, and so having just less things around just makes sense. And you've made such a business of this. You became a millionaire at age 21. I love that. Congratulations to you. That's just wonderful to hear have it happen to you. What was the most what was the item that you made the most from, the hidden treasure that really turned out to be something really valuable, and maybe share a little bit about what you made from it?
I get asked this question a lot, Paul. What was the
Yeah,
one, and was it the one
yeah,
that triggered it all?
yeah.
And it wasn't the one that triggered it all. I was encouraged by my parents to have a garage sale because I wanted more toys.
Uh-huh.
And that was at the age of 9. And from there, I realized I was really good at it, and made a lot of money. And I kept on going and going. And by the time I was 13, I was flipping coins and baseball cards and doing, you know, three, four, $5,000 deals in one go.
Yeah.
And my dad had to drive me to the burger. A lot of times it was the Burger King parking lot that was close to our house because nobody wanted to do it at each other's homes. So my dad was there as the enforcer in case somebody tried to take my money.
Uh-huh.
And so that got really I got really good at it, and then by the time I was, roughly 21, of flipping items, going to garage sales, estate sales, secondhand stores. Back then, Paul, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Facebook Marketplace.
Mhm.
We had to actually, I had to hustle. And so, but moving forward, I think the piece that I remember very clearly of what I made the most out of was I was invited to a garage sale, and I was walking around, and the person, invited a handful of people to come by first. I never met this person, and I was recommended to go to it. And I'm walking around and I'm buying stuff, really cool antiques. And then I came across of this old tin toy. And I talked to the gentleman about it, and he told me he brought it over from, the Second World War that he was in, and he bought it, and he's never really thought about it until he got ready to downsize for this garage sale, and he was asking like $25. And I loved it. I wind it up. It worked and everything like that. And he gave me such good deals on everything else. I thought $25 for this toy was a good deal. So believe it or not, I didn't ask for any better price. And he was pretty adamant that he thought it was a good deal. And I felt I got good deals on everything else. What's $25? And so I took the risk. And I'm glad I paid him what it was worth, because after about 3 months of finally getting to those items to put them on eBay, I realized that item was worth $1,200.
Wow.
And I put it in an auction. I actually made a little more than $1,200 off a $25 item. And so I'll always remember that because it was out of my wheelhouse, Paul. I had to go with my gut. And, now that I teach everything, I would say, have your cell phone ready, have your eBay app on, look at completed items, and if you don't know better, you need to not risk your bankroll. You need to check it out. But somehow it was the right time, right place. And I said yes. And I'm glad that I did.
Again, Aaron LaPedis is our guest today. He's written this wonderful book, Garage Sale Millionaires. You mentioned your folks, Aaron, and I loved your dedication because you just come right out and you just say, your dad passed away, but you are the person who will never be forgotten and will always be dearly missed. So that was really just a nice touch. I always like to read dedications because I think they matter, and that was just a very genuine reference, I thought, to your dad in just such a nice way. So um, my hat's off to you for that. Congrats. I want to move from buying to selling for just a second and talk to you a little bit about items that people have that maybe they might make a mistake, when they're trying to sell them. What comes to mind when I refer to, kind of some things that we might make some mistakes along the way here. What are some of the things that you've seen along the way that really have kind of caught your attention and you want to let our audience know to kind of hold back from? Don't make some of these same mistakes.
Electronics.
Yeah.
Old stereo equipment, old speakers, cable boxes that you have to buy to, upgrade your system, or ones that were left in the house and you think that you just recently bought and they left a cable box in there, and it's not, it's you don't know what to do with it. You're thinking about throwing it away. Everything that's electronic. It's really interesting, Paul. Some things come full circle. Stereo equipment, turntables, phonographs,
Yeah.
and now they're state of the art. The old stuff with the tubes and the stereos and the great turntables that you pick up every nuance of that beautiful record, that your favorite Led Zeppelin song,
Right.
and people are just think it's not have any value of it. Back to VHSs. A lot of people got rid of their VHS machines, but there are people out there that have all these VHS and want to still watch these movies. And so when at one time people were giving away DVD players, there's things you want to find out what the true value is before you either discard it or sell it for nickels on the dollar at your garage sale. So that's one of my tips.
Hi, this is Paul. Before we jump back into today's show, I want to take a moment to recognize a truly special milestone, Smithsonian Associates' 60th anniversary. Since 1965, Smithsonian Associates, the largest museum-based education program in the world, has been inspiring lifelong learners with unforgettable experiences, connecting audiences with the Smithsonian's museums, research, and experts in new and exciting ways. This year, the celebration is for you, with a full year of special programming both online and in person, from behind-the-scenes looks at Smithsonian collections to conversations with astronauts, historians, filmmakers, and curators. There's something for everyone. Smithsonian Associates has created something extraordinary. I'm proud to partner with Smithsonian Associates to share their incredible programs with the Not All Better Show audience. Thanks for being part of this journey. Here's to 60 years of curiosity, learning, and discovery.
Again, our guest is Aaron LaPedis. His fantastic book is Garage Sale Millionaire. We're talking to him today about all of the world of garage sales and the money that can be made from it in terms of selling items. Many in our audience are going to be new to some of these online platforms. And you mentioned a couple of them like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. There's Craigslist too. What are some tips that you might give to our audience to just let them be aware, make sure that they understand kind of what this world is all about?
I'm glad you asked that, because this world is a different world than, Paul, maybe you and I grew up in, because we didn't have the internet.
Sure.
Now we have a lot of predators out there trying to take your money, and there's a ton of scams. So one of the favorite scams is, I'm going to mail you a certified check. I'm going to send a delivery driver, and the extra money that I'm going to give you is for your headache of having to deal with this. You're going to give the delivery driver $300 out of the certified check, and the rest you'll keep and give that item to my delivery driver. And what will happen is 3 or 4 days later, they'll find out that certified check is no good. It could say U.S. Postal certified check. It could say a certified check from Bank of the West. It doesn't matter. If you get those checks, it is a scam 100% every day. That's one. PayPal. There's this Facebook, on Facebook. Somebody will pose as one of your friends and sell things at a fair deal, not a steal, but at a fair deal. And then you'll engage, realizing, I know this person. God, there's these things I need. Engage with them. They'll work out a deal with you and then have you pay a deposit through PayPal. And the PayPal number will be really weird. A lot of numbers and letters. And you'll find out later on, once you pay that money is gone. And that person you thought was your friend was scamming one of your friends and cloned their Facebook site.
Wow.
So that's another one. You have to, if the deal is too good to be true, Paul, that tells you right there you shouldn't be doing. There's something going on. And always at every turn, people are trying to part you from your hard-earned money.
Mhm. The other thing that I thought was really valuable too, and this kind of I've lost sight of, and that is, perhaps consider closing the transaction at the local police station. Just go there and make sure to collect the money, meet the person, and then exchange the item, and you're doing it in a kind of a safe spot.
I'm glad you brought that up. There are a lot of towns that have designated places at police stations that are well lit with cameras over them, and it's a good place to exchange money. But one step better, don't ever do any of these deals without somebody right next to you, because you still don't know what could happen. And if you show up with somebody else, and if there's a person thinking about doing something wrong, they'll think twice. And always deals should be done always in daylight, never at night. And you just always want to protect yourself.
Aaron LaPedis, our guest today, is the Garage Sale Millionaire. We'll have links so that our audience can find out more about Aaron and all of his success and this wonderful book where you can get that online too. Aaron shared it with me, and I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it highly enough to our audience, but it's not just me. I found this wonderful review of the book. I just want to read this real quickly to our audience, and you're probably aware of this, of course, Aaron, but Suzanne Brown, the lifestyle editor at the Denver Post, said, "This book covers it all: the thrill of the hunt, the nitty-gritty of negotiation, and the how-tos of making money buying and selling with garage sales." I just thought that was fantastic review and a great, I think, way to kind of jump into something that I really didn't know much about. And you start to hear more of these as I was doing my research of you, and that's the subject of storage unit auctions. There have been some TV shows about this I found. I didn't know about it, but it's a real trend. Maybe tell us about it a little bit, and maybe tell us, is it worth it to participate in some of those things?
Well, the thing is, I was doing this when I was 19, these storage units. And when only, 4 or 5 people would show up, and there was no bidding war or anything like that. And I've bought over the time probably 100 storage units. And it is not like what you see on Storage Wars. People have to understand that is a, even they call it reality TV, there is no reality in it at all. It is staged. Those are not actors, but it is staged. They seed the storage unit to make it look real. So that you find, oh, there's a safe. Oh my God, there's all these antique Civil War weapons in the safe. Oh, there's a gold bar that's sitting in this box that's not been opened. That does not happen. I've done enough of them. Yes, one in a couple hundred, you will find some exciting things. It is there because unfortunately in storage units, the reason why they're there is a couple reasons. Well, there are a few reasons. One, somebody went to prison. And believe it or not, that's more common than or jail. The other one, they died. That is the other top one. Dying is probably the biggest one. Prison, and they did not have enough money to pay the bill and racked up. And so any of those reasons of any of that situation, you will find something interesting. But you're going to go through a lot of trash to get to some treasure.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like anything else. Be careful of the hype.
Yep. It is true. And then you'll get other people seeing something, and then the bidding war begins. You have to do enough of them without buying and just seeing what people are looking for, and then understanding, oh, is that a safe or is that just a tin box with old tools in it? You just got to get the feel and know what to look for, know what about name brands and different things, bringing a good flashlight, because you can't touch anything. You can look in, and then they give you like a minute to look in, and then boom, the bidding starts. And if you don't set the dollar amount in your head, you'll overpay. And then the next thing you know, you've paid for it. And now your responsibility is to remove everything in 24 hours, clean it out, and you can't use their trash cans. So you have to be prepared to haul it to the dump if you don't want it. Or what are you going to do with it? So you have to it looks really easy on TV. That's not reality.
What are some common household items that are overlooked for potential cash sales, especially, trending kind of today? What are you seeing that's really kind of hot out there?
Anything baby or kids,
Mm,
baby furniture,
well,
baby clothes, toys. That is sports items where they're growing up. So golf clubs, anything that people are always upgrading, garden furniture, tools. Those are all items great for a garage sale or Facebook Marketplace that will sell really, really quickly. And anytime you have antiques, those are not good for eBay, but they are good for garage sales and Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, you mentioned Facebook Marketplace. I'll just personalize this just a tiny bit and just let you know that my wife and I bought two kayaks on Facebook Marketplace from a kind of a local seller. She was probably about 50 miles away. Her husband had passed away. He and she had used the kayaks maybe for a year. They were just in amazing condition. And her whole, kind of sense was, I just want to get rid of this. It's kind of after my husband passed, but it was a very safe transaction, and the kayaks are just spanking new. So I mean, there's some real bargains that you could get on Facebook Marketplace.
100%. And Paul, when they make it on Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor Marketplace, um, those people need it gone. And so if you see one of those items that have been on there for more than a couple weeks, you can get that item literally at half of what they're asking for. Normally, I do not recommend to negotiate that hard on eBay because you'll turn those people off. But on Nextdoor, they want it gone. They're probably moving, downsizing, whatever it is, they want it gone, and mentally it is gone. And whatever money they make, they're happy to get it.
Well, I'm curious to know a little bit about negotiating. My wife and I didn't negotiate at all. I think there was some urgency on the part of the seller, absolutely. The timing, I think, was very much in kind of our favor. But what do you recommend in terms of negotiation? Sounds like eBay isn't the place to negotiate, and I thought that was interesting to hear you say that you might turn somebody off. But maybe give us a few tips on negotiating, either buying or selling.
So on eBay, you can make offers on items. And
Uh-huh.
I have, if anybody wants to see how I trade and how I describe things, you can go to eBay, the Garage Sale Millionaire, and look at how I list things. I have
Oh,
about
good.
1,400 items.
Okay,
And when
thanks.
somebody comes to me and makes me an offer and I have it for $1,000, I already know I'm trying to be the lowest on eBay so I can move it.
Mhm.
And if somebody offers me $500, Paul, I I decline it, and then I don't take any more offers from them because they're a waste of time.
Mm,
And they may want to try what my bottom is and then go up to 750, but I'm already done with them. So
mhm.
they've already turned me off. So
Uh-huh.
I'm declining everything I see because now I'm wondering if I mail it to them, will they, return it, which will cost me money. So I don't want to have anything to do with those people. So now Facebook Marketplace is different. You go to their house, you look at it, and there is negotiating room. If they're asking $100, starting at $80 or $75, especially if on eBay, it is, you probably can get it for less, but you would have to pay shipping and everything like that.
Right.
So have some examples of why you think it's worth that, but you also have to feel the room. If they
Mhm.
need it gone and you want it and you need to save some money, if you're there, the worst that they can say is no. And I'm telling you, if you have cash in your pocket, not Venmo, even though a lot of people do take Venmo, people love cash, and just say, I wasn't thinking of, I know you want $100. $100 is actually fair, but I the most I can do today is 75. And then they may counter at 80 and you'll say, okay, it's $5, looks good, done. I always would negotiate. I would always negotiate. And so you left a little money on the table, Paul, but it sounds like you got something perfect. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it being a win-win. And I always believe in every deal. People have to hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, it should be a win-win.
Yeah. Interesting about the lowball technique too, because I had never kind of put that together, that you might just put off the seller so much that they're just not going to deal with you again. And so you might just lose out on an item that you really want.
And or you could really make money on. That's the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody
Yeah.
will tell me about this great deal that almost happened. Well, it's not a great deal if it didn't happen. And they're all proud that they came in low and they tried to beat up the seller, and then they didn't get the deal and they walk away all proud of themselves. Well, you probably left money on the table over a couple bucks. That's not how to get a good deal done.
Right. Right. Great information from Aaron LaPedis today, author of the fantastic book, Garage Sale Millionaire. Aaron just mentioned his eBay uh, uh, name, and we'll put that in our links so that people can follow Aaron there on eBay. More information about his book will be in our links. I'm interested in talking about, kind of the mobile phone world, because all these apps offer some potential for doing some buying and selling. And one that caught my attention as I was kind of doing my research today, Aaron, was this Offer Up app. How does that compare to the kind of a traditional garage sale?
A lot of them are the same. Offer up, you gotta be careful on selling. And it goes offer up is really bad, where a lot of the people that want to buy from you are scams,
Mm.
and vice versa. So you have to be very careful about that. Offer up is very I've used it before. I don't like it.
Mm.
Next door and Facebook Marketplace, you always have to put cash only or Venmo, so you don't get scams of people trying to do PayPal or a certified check. So it's a OfferUp does not regulate itself as good as I think Facebook Marketplace and Nextdoor does. So I think always with whatever you buy, never pay for anything ahead of time. That is huge. And when you go visit that item, always go with somebody. Even if you're buying something, you want to go with somebody. So just for protection. Paul, it's gotten a little dicey out here. So it's you just want to protect yourself at all times.
Great, great advice. So for many in our audience, we're kind of thinking about a second act. We're thinking about maybe the gig economy. We're thinking about maybe, kind of turning a side hustle into a little bit more income. What can somebody expect if they want to do this full time? They want to be careful about doing it. They want to do it with some integrity and honesty in the same way that you do it. What might somebody kind of expect to earn over the course of a year?
So let's just go on a weekend. Anybody that files the tips of my book and sets up an eBay site and a Facebook marketplace, and they're going to be able to make easy $1,000 a weekend.
Wow.
And this is not a get rich quick scheme,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
I don't sell anything inside my book. There's no classes. It is just that they go hit the garage sales early. They keep on looking at Facebook Marketplace on the deals. They have a good eBay website. They learn how to negotiate, which I teach. All the extra items that they can't sell because they're too big or not the right thing to sell online, they learn how to have once a year a garage sale. They will make a good living by just making garage sales, estate sales, and online stuff a side hustle. It's, when the economy went down in 2009, I used to own an art gallery. Well, nobody was buying art at that time. And to put food on the table, I went back to my roots. I went to garage sales. People were suffering. They were letting things go cheap, but I know how to flip things. And so that's how I made extra money to keep me and my family afloat. So I'm not smarter than anybody else. I love the hustle. And if people want to work hard, Paul, they can make it happen.
Great stuff. Aaron LaPedis has been our guest today, author of the Garage Sale Millionaire. Lots of wonderful advice. Be careful, avoid the hype, do some homework, reach out to Aaron, understand how this all works. But it sounds like it could work in many instances. And so I want to encourage our audience to check out Aaron's book. Look in our show notes today for all the links that you can find with more information about Aaron LaPedis and all the success that he's had, 40 years of it as a garage sale millionaire. Aaron, thank you for your time. Thanks for all of these tips and advice. What a great story you've had.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Thank you. My thanks to Aaron LaPedis for joining us today. Of course, Aaron is the author of The Garage Sale Millionaire. You'll find lots of links about Aaron and his work in our show notes today. Thanks always to the Smithsonian team for all they do to support the show. My thanks to Sam Henniker and Miranda Henniker for everything they do to keep us right on track. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Miranda. My thanks always to you, our wonderful audience here on radio and podcast. Please be well. Be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old, Better Show on radio and podcast. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.